Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Daulton from Hammock Chiropractic. So listen to what happened to me. All right. I got to tell you, I just had the most exhausting weekend ever. And I'm not talking about physically exhausting. I was mentally and emotionally drained by the end of this weekend. So I wanted to make a video for you because there's actually a very, very important lesson that I want to teach you, because I'm going to tell you the story of what happened to me, and then we're going to use that to actually learn something from it. So hopefully you can benefit from the story too. So let me tell you exactly what happened to me. I went out of town this weekend for the last seminar that I had this year. And I had to fly out to Minneapolis for this seminar. And Friday, I woke up at 1 o'clock in the morning in order to catch an early morning flight that I had planned to fly out there. And then I had class that night, and then I had to wake up the next morning. I had class from 6 a.m. till 4 in the afternoon, and then I flew home early on Sunday morning. So first of all, you have to understand, I am an early morning person. I get up at 3 a.m. just about every day because that's the only way that I can get my workouts in before I get into work. So I'm used to getting up early, but getting up at 1 and then flying out, getting there, spending the day doing things, and then being in class all night, I was drained. Like, I was so tired at that point. Now, the story actually begins the next morning, though, and we're going to come back to that Friday in just a second, but I want to start with something else first. So the next morning, I had to get up extra early because I had my class at 6 a.m. And the class that I was attending that morning was actually a very special class. It's a very select group of doctors that meets at that class. I kind of look at them as kind of the top of my profession. You know, we all help a lot of patients, and we do great work in the chiropractic field. So this is a group of my colleagues, but they're a higher level of chiropractors than what you might normally see. So I attend this class. It was maybe 30 or 40 of us. And the coach in that class, who was leading the seminar, he asks me to stand up in front of the room without talking to me first, of course. And he wants me to present this thing that he had taught at the previous class, which was months ago. And I got up there. Now, I'm going to tell you something about myself. I don't mind public speaking. Public speaking doesn't bother me at all as long as I'm prepared. You see, you could take me and put me in front of an audience of 1,000 people, and I wouldn't even get nervous as long as I know what I'm going to say and that I am prepared for it. You know, same thing with these videos. These videos don't bother me at all. Now, obviously, there are some people on YouTube who want to make fun of me and whatnot. That's okay. You can say whatever you want to. It doesn't bother me at all. But this doesn't bother me to have these conversations with you guys, because I feel like this is important for me to help educate not only my patients, but people who are just trying to be healthier in general. But even though I'm really good at that and I'm comfortable with that, if you put me on the spot and I'm not prepared, it's a whole different experience for me. It makes me incredibly uncomfortable and incredibly nervous, and it's really hard for me. So let me tell you what actually happened. So I get up in front of the class, because I'm not going to say no, right? I get up there, and immediately my brain goes blank. Now, the topic that he wanted me to talk about was not something that I was unfamiliar with. In fact, I had made a video for you about it when I attended that last seminar because it was such good information. But my brain was just, it wasn't even there. I couldn't even find the thoughts, and I'm trying, and I'm fumbling through it, trying to get it right. It was terrible. Now, and in fact, he had to stop me. We all laughed about it, though. I'll tell you, it was kind of funny, but we laughed about it. And then another doctor came up and actually did it correctly, but he's kind of a rock star chiropractor, so that's okay. You know, we got the information one way or another. But I want to tell you what I was feeling at that moment. So at that moment, number one, I felt like a failure. All right. And I know that you guys have been in situations. You may not have been in that exact same situation, but you know exactly what I'm talking about. And that's why I want to share the story with you. So I felt like a failure. I was embarrassed. All right. And I'm telling you, my cheeks were probably 10 shades of red at that moment, because I was really embarrassed by the fact that I could not perform in front of this group. And my brain immediately started to think this thought. And here's what it was thinking. How do I get out of here fast? That's what it was thinking. Because I was embarrassed and because I was uncomfortable, my immediate reaction, because of what was in my mind, was I wanted to escape. Now, if you think about this, there are all kinds of situations that every single one of us is in every day that make you feel the exact same way. And your reaction is to flee. I could have gotten up and left, right? But that probably would have been even more embarrassing because they all know me. So I stayed, of course. And I got over it pretty quickly because, like I said, these are a group of my friends, really. But the reason I bring this up with you is because you're going to have times in your life where you're going to feel like a failure. There's also going to be times in your life that you are going to avoid doing something that you know you should do. And the reason you're going to avoid it is because you don't want to fail, or you don't want to be embarrassed, or you don't want to lose, or whatever the case it may be. And I want to tell you something. We have to start thinking about these things very differently, because here's the thing about life. If you never are uncomfortable, you're never going to grow beyond where you are right now. You see, I can't become a better person sitting on the couch. It's not going to happen. You got to do things in order to make change in your life happen. And you have to make conscious decisions to go out there and do something different if you want a different result in your life. It's that simple. There's no easy way around it. There's no quick fixes, and there's no fast solutions to anything in life. You got to be able to make yourself uncomfortable so that you can become different and better. And that's the whole point of this. So what I ended up doing, and I've started to retrain my mind to do this. When I get that uncomfortable feeling and I want to run away, I stop for a minute and I say, and you have to acknowledge it and say, you know what? I failed. Big deal. Every single person in this room has failed at 1 or 2 or 100 times or another over their lifetime, because it happens to all of us. And you know that they all knew exactly what I was feeling at that moment, because they've felt the exact same thing at one point or another either. So I'm not different for having those feelings. But what I do have to do is acknowledge that I failed. And then I have to say to myself, okay, what can I learn from this? And how is this experience going to make me better? Because what I don't want to do is I don't want to have this uncomfortable negative experience and not get something out of it. That's the whole point of the story, right? So you better believe that when I got on the plane the next morning to fly home, I was studying. I got on there, I researched the information that I was supposed to present, I sharpened myself up on it, and next time, if you ask me to present that information, I will be prepared. That's just the bottom line. So it forced me to learn something. Now, what is the end result of that? Why was that important that I got that lesson from it? The reason I do these seminars and the reason I try to continue to learn is because I want to help you more. I want to help as many patients as I can. That's the bottom line. And yes, of course, I want to help you as a chiropractor because that's what I do. And I feel like everybody could benefit from chiropractic care. If you utilize chiropractic care in the way that it was meant to be utilized, which is a way of making sure that your body functions at its absolute best by ensuring that your nervous system is functioning at its best, you're going to get a lot more out of your life. And that's what I want for every single one of my patients. I want you to have a better life experience through chiropractic care. But what that also means is that you have to make some other choices differently. You have to choose a healthier lifestyle. I want to see your financial life improve. I want to see your career life improve. I want to see your relationships improve. And that's what I want to talk about next. And that's why we're having this discussion. You see, that fear that I experienced and that feeling of failure and all of that, we have that in every single area of our lives. You see, you can have that happen in your relationships. You can have that happen in your financial life. You can have that happen at work. We are going to have these things happen all the time. So for example, let's talk about relationships for a second. Relationships are hard, right? And why are they so hard? Well, they're so hard because we all have a past. We all have past experiences with people. We've all been done wrong. We've all been treated poorly. It's happened to every single one of us. And so what happens is that the minute that you see any little thing that may warn you that this is coming your way again, your brain immediately goes into that protective mode, and it's going to make you want to back away and push away from that person. This is why relationships are so difficult, because you've got two people, or more than that even, who are having these same things going on in their brains, and you don't even know that it's happening. So that's why it's so easy for us to affect those in a negative way. Same thing with your financial life. When we have financial struggles, you know what your first reaction is? You don't want to look at it. You want to run away from it. It's the exact same thing no matter what area of your life it is affecting. And remember, you're out of control of this right now because your brain is doing this automatically in order to protect you. So what do we do about that? Well, once again, we have to learn a lesson from it, and you've got to face that fear. It's okay for you to be uncomfortable. You know, one of the very best things that I ever did for myself was starting to do CrossFit. And I'm going to tell you something. CrossFit was really hard for me to start. And the reason isn't because of the workouts themselves, although they're very, very difficult. What it was there was a time in my life where I was very heavy, and I remember not being comfortable setting foot in a gym. because I didn't feel like I fit in. I didn't look like the rest of the people there. I couldn't do what the rest of the people there were capable of doing. And so CrossFit for me was such a step up from what I had been used to doing exercise-wise that it took a lot of courage for me to even walk into there because I felt uncomfortable in there, right? And then you start doing these workouts and you realize, oh, wait a minute. I'm not good at this at all. This is really hard for me and it's challenging. But here's the thing about it, and this is the reason that I've stuck with it and I'm really thankful that I have. You have to learn to put yourself in these uncomfortable situations where you could possibly fail at something. You have to start getting comfortable with being uncomfortable, and you have to learn to face that fear because that's the only way you're ever going to get over it. By continuing with CrossFit, I have started to see improvements along the way, and that's really the positive side of it. My body is changing. My physical activity level is able to be better now because I have more energy and I can do more. I've seen a lot of improvements because of it, but you can't do that if you quit. All right. And that's my reaction, especially that first month or so, man. My thoughts were always, I don't know if I can do that. I really don't know if I can follow through with this and continue doing this, but you gotta force yourself to keep going, even though it's uncomfortable and even though it's painful and even though it's making you feel like a failure in one way or another, you gotta push through it. Now, I want to tell you one more story here, and then we're going to talk about a couple of solutions to some of this. Another thing that happened to me this weekend at the same time, and this was entirely my fault. I got to tell you up front, I don't feel good about this, but I want to share it with you because I want to demonstrate to you how this can affect every area of your life. I told you that I was really exhausted on Friday because I had to get up super early. And I have a friend that I've become very close to over the last few weeks who I value a lot. I mean, it's someone that I have a lot of respect for. And I feel like he's a very good person. He's an amazing person, actually. And, we were having a discussion, and because I was tired and for other reasons or whatever, things were coming up in my head that weren't actually real. But this happens. So see, remember I talked about how we have past experiences and you see these little cues with people, and all of a sudden your brain instantly goes to those memories and you put that emotion or that response onto that other person. And that's what happened. And I said some things that I wasn't proud of, that actually were inappropriate. They weren't accurate about this person. But at the moment, my brain was reacting because I was tired and I wasn't in control of it. And it was immediately having this negative reaction to something that I was seeing that wasn't even there with this person. So at that moment, I literally pushed this person away, all right? Not really thinking about it, not meaning to, but it was my brain's reaction to that, to things that had happened to me in the past. And I feel like I've ruined a friendship because of that. And of course, that's very hard for me to talk about. But what I want to tell you is this, is that, you have to understand that even in your interactions with people, there are going to be times where your brain is immediately going to put you into that protective mode. It's what it's supposed to do. This is a natural reaction. You got to learn to stop and think. And this is what I want to talk to you about. One of the things I've been doing recently here is I like Audible. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that. It's basically audiobooks. It's Amazon's company, I believe. And there's an author that I have just fallen in love with. Her name is Mel Robbins. You've probably heard of her before. She's come up with this thing called the 5-second rule. And what she talks about is how her life was basically a complete mess. And, she was struggling in all these different areas. And one night she was up, I guess she was drinking, she says, and she was watching TV, and there was a commercial that came on, and it was a rocket being launched up into space. And you know how when the rockets or the spaceships launch up there or whatever, that they have the countdown, is that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, blast off, right? And all of a sudden she had this thought in her head, because one of the things that she had a hard time with was getting up in the morning. She would continuously push the snooze button because she didn't want to face her day. She didn't want to face her problems. And so she came up with this idea. She goes, tomorrow, that's what I'm going to do. As soon as the alarm goes off, I'm going to count 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and I'm going to jump up out of bed and get my day started, and I'm going to face the day. And what she discovered was that you can use this to get yourself to face anything that you're having a struggle with. Now, this is actually scientifically very sound, because what she actually says is that You have 5 seconds. When you have a thought that you want to do something that's productive or helpful for yourself that would be beneficial to you, you got 5 seconds to do it, because if you wait longer than 5 seconds, your brain is immediately going to start doing what I was talking to you about, where it's going to come up with every reason why you should not do that and why this isn't a good idea. And by listening to your brain at that moment in time, you are limiting your life experience. You can't be as happy. You're stopping yourself from experiencing things that would make you better. So she says to use that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I would actually encourage you not only to use that for things that you want to get done. So for example, if there's something that you're procrastinating that you know you need to get done, don't think about it. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go and start. Just start doing that. And you're going to see it's going to change. If you're having a hard time getting to the gym, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Don't stop and think about it. Just get it done. Same thing with your relationships. When you're having a struggle with somebody, or when you're having a thought process going in your head that you don't know if it's even accurate or not, before you talk, think. That's what I learned from this experience with my friend, and that's the reason why I wanted to tell you the story. You know, if I had stopped and thought and realized what was going on with my brain, and I said, I don't think that's accurate, I think you should just shut your mouth and go to bed, right? Things would have been a whole lot better. That relationship would have been resolved. And now I don't know that it ever will be. But I got to tell you, if you use that method, if you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then stop and think to yourself, okay, is that really the best course of action I should be taking? Make sure you're thinking through and making the decisions that are actually going to benefit you in the end and make it a positive experience, because you never know. You don't get second chances sometimes with people, right? So I want you to take that information. I want you to think about something in your life today that you're struggling with, that you know you need to be doing something differently or something better, but you're having a hard time getting yourself to do it. Whether that be something in your career, in your health life, in your relationship life, wherever that may be coming from, I want you to look at it. And then what I want you to stop and do is I want you to choose to do one thing today towards that thing that would help get you a little closer to achieving that goal or to making something better with that thing, right? And I want you to just do it. Stop and just do it. Stop putting it off. Stop avoiding it. Just make the decision to make a change and go for it. All right? Well, that was my weekend, you guys. As you can tell, that's why I was exhausted. I had a lot to think about, right? And I wanted to tell you a lot too. I hope you found that interesting, and I will see you guys on the next video.